Well, thank you.
And then there's two over there.
So let's see, we do have a form. You do right now. Yep, you do.
Jeffrey.
Very-
Jeffrey there.
Oh, you don't, Jeff Wardell?
Jeff.
You haven't heard from Jeff?
Yeah, no,
I haven't heard from Jeff either.
Well, big part of our training's not here either.
Yeah.
Well, it just says work meeting. Training, Gary Crane.
Hmm,
Coming? Supposed to.
it'll be.
I talked to him the other day and
Just sent Jaden off today, so. You see him back.
Oh, you,
Oh, good for you. That's a lot less painless now. Pull in, dump them out, drive out.
Yeah.
What they do in the parking lot.
Yeah, other than the underground parking,
Yeah.
loop in, loop out, you can't go anywhere. Mom can't run after them.
Yeah. By design.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Spent all morning trying to get one of his luggage, or both of his suitcases to weigh under 50 pounds.
yeah.
You say, you've got to do that again in the MTC, by the way,
Yeah,
because you can put it whatever. you want.
where's he going?
Phoenix,
Phoenix.
yeah.
They could, Cindy went to Phoenix and she'd have to have 300 pounds. Blue packer I've ever seen.
He's Spanish speaking.
English.
Hey, man,
Yeah, he said he'll probably have to learn some words.
maybe you can go down there and visit him during like spring training. And go down there.
I might have a little bit from a few times.
Yeah.
Phoenix Open is
Yeah,
coming up, golf tournament I might wanna watch.
yeah,
In person. In person.
Huge baseball games.
I've always wanted to go down there to spring training games, yeah.
I can't remember who was.
I think I'll do it.
I'm surprised.
Maybe I'll do it in February, March. They play right there in lots of stadiums there they play at.
Had a lot of teams show up, a
Oh,
lot of baseball games.
yeah, Giants are there.
Daughter's into tennis, so maybe she'll have a tennis match or two that she wants to sign up for
Say,
Well,
she
she did
did,
really well this
she won, didn't she?
one stage.
One state.
Morgan's team did, didn't they?
No, the team got third.
Oh, the team, okay.
His daughter, her
So
daughter.
it's the second singles. So. It's kind of like in wrestling where you wrestle your own weight,
Yeah.
but it's her ranking, so she was second. The team, and then she went against all the other second.
Yeah, I read it in the paper. Yeah. I saw it and I thought, I started, yeah, cause I got the first singles or something, I couldn't see her name and I thought, huh? So I kept scrolling down and there she was.
Her shoulder and everything powered through.
Yeah. Huh, yeah, I saw that.
Well, I can't play tennis.
That's over.
I had a kid.
I was gonna return for her and all that stuff, and right when she started playing, it's like, I'll just get the balls up. and-
Maybe get out of
Hard
there.
time with badminton.
There,
So should we start or?
one minute.
Yeah, got quorum.
You guys? Oh, Jen, are you ready?
Uh-huh, yeah, it's not ready.
Okay.
So we're live and ready, huh?
We are, we're recording.
Let's see, I'll get.
Do they do tennis scholarships? Is that?
You need two there, Steve, or can I take one?
Oh, you got it.
To my several.
Oh, sorry.
It's only a sophomores.
I got one. Yeah. I want it in stereo.
Yeah.
I had it. My son played
Here's Gary.
doubles
Just
over here. Loved it.
The legend.
He loved, he had a blast.
Just make sure they're turned on, please. Yes.
The myth, the legend, the
That's,
The man-
that kid minded it.
legend did his own mind. Hey,
Right at home.
you can come into Morgan if you have Browning on now.
Okay, we'd like to begin. Welcome to our
How's Gary?
work meeting. for the council, November 25th, 2025. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I'm happy we have a quorum. So let's move into it. And let's go to item 1. I believe we turn that to Jake, Ty.
Yeah, so, just as staff, we've been, working quite a bit and there's a lot of things happening or have happened lately on land use, zoning and rezones and general plan updates and, you know, we've talked before about having a little bit of confusion, but, all of that's kind of in the works. So, I was talking to staff, well, I was talking to the mayor too about, kind of where we sit, and I realized we have gone through the process for capital improvement projects of prioritizing, the council's all chimed in on that list, and we prioritize that every year, but we've never prioritized as a council, what are your priorities for land use? Because we have a lot of things we're working on currently, but the council really should be driving the bus and kind of overseeing that process for staff and the planning commission, right? Like the council can task the planning commission on what gets looked at. So even though there's a lot going on, I just want to reassure the council that there are a lot of things that are currently in the works. So the main focus right now is the general plan. As you know, we got a grant before to do the general plan. The planning commission spent a couple years on it and we adopted it. And now there's just some minor cleanups. One thing we're working on is, if you remember that, how each density called out like 3 to 5 homes per acre. So we're going to clean that up. So there's a work in progress there, but the main thing on the general plan is that we have a grant right now for the downtown area plan. And, you know, we've been involved in that. We had all those public workshops and stuff like that, and then a master trails plan. And so those don't necessarily have to be your priority, but I'm just kind of letting you know that's already on the planning commission docket, right? So that's kind of one thing that's where we're currently at. But apart from that,
Can that grant money be used for the general plan then?
it is, yeah. So we got,
For the general plan work that we're doing?
yeah, so we got a grant to do the general plan, and then we got another grant to do the downtown area and trails master plan together. So we're finishing up those grants right now.
And Ty, if I could, the downtown plan, the trails plan and the parks plan is being updated through the general plan. That way we'll continue to have a single master document and a master plan on it. So they're not separate documents.
Yeah, it's just an updated general plan.
Yeah. So it's happening in conjunction. And then also with that is, in that grant is ordinance updates for the downtown and also the master plan community ordinance. Those two things are part of the grant as well. But they'll follow after the general plan update. That's just the process.
Yep, and then, so I made this little sheet just to go through. I can tally them up later, and you don't have to finish them tonight, but the idea was just to have a discussion. Let everybody kind of chime in on what they feel like their priorities are, so I can kind of read the room and
So you want just a numerical?
just top down, yeah, just reorder the list. And then there's also room for other, right? So there's stuff that you might want to see happen, and you don't necessarily have to know the ordinance or where it fits, just like, I would like to see this happen, or this is something that I think we need to fix or change or anything like that, where you can you can just write that in and then reorder it on the right-hand column. So hopefully you feel like it's a good use of time. I can go through kind of the list.
So we could get this to Jeff and Eric.
Yeah, and let them write their priorities for sure. Yeah, Tony?
Well, Ty, so it really wouldn't make much sense in this priority list discussion here. The trails plan and the downtown area plan, I mean, obviously, they need to be up near the top, right?
Well, no, they can still, if it's something that it's like, well, that's not a big deal to me. It can show up anywhere on your list, but it's just happening,
Yeah.
right? So but it doesn't mean you have to put that as a priority, right? Like you could have different priorities, but by the time we get around to making it happen, then the other thing, one thing to think about as you prioritize things is we're not telling staff or the planning commission, this is the outcome we want. This is our priorities of stuff we want you to address, because there's a lot of homework that goes into each one of those. And there's a process that they will go through before it comes back to us, back to council. Right, so you don't have to, on the list, it's not like you would have I want to see, you know, I want to see this block redeveloped or something, or I want to see this house go away or
So
anything like that. Not necessarily that, but ordinance and general plan
So explain what we want on ordinance update to match general plan, where we're talking about.
So we're in the process of finishing the general plan, right? And we're tweaking the general plan. Right now, there's a lot of focus. Every time we have a meeting, there's a lot of focus on what does the general plan say? And that's typically not the case. Typically, we're talking about the ordinance, but our ordinances don't match the new general plan. So we've redone the whole general plan, but we haven't gone through and worked on all of the zones to
The zoning ordinances.
zoning ordinances to fit, right? And so that's why, I kind of feel like that's why there's a little bit of confusion, but we're also in the middle of we have a lot of stuff going on that all needs to come together at some point.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it would be good for the council to kind of get that, kind of see if there's consensus or common areas that everybody feels like they'd like to see.
Ty, will
Yeah,
the staff and planning commission go through the same process prioritizing?
No, not necessarily. The planning commission does that already on stuff, but mostly it's staff that brings it forward. It's just what the staff really introduces to the planning commission. So the staff can say, you know, the council really wanted us to do this. So before we redo how many dogs you can have, we're gonna focus on this, or as things come up,
Yeah, I think,
unless dogs are the priority, of course.
I think I'd maybe have a little bit of interest in knowing or understanding what's important to staff. They're working day to day with the events and maybe closer to it than I would. Is there a way of
So
connecting those or not?
this is the list that staff is currently working on in land use. So this is what's on our radar.
This is what's on our radar.
What's on our radar,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
But would there be priority that they would have that maybe if I said something else is more important, I'm gonna miss a priority that I'd be could be influenced to say, yeah, you're right, I think we should, because you know more about it, I'm willing to go along with the
So,
higher priority on that event that you're talking about.
no, I think it's okay just to have the council give the priority. I think what will happen was staff will look at it and say, well, if we adjust this, then it also means now there's a ripple effect, like something else just got moved. And so staff might have to go through their own process to say, well, let's do this at the same time. But it's still a council priority, right?
I like that this puts those that were elected on, possibly you might mark something 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever because of the comments you're hearing from residents. And the staff should, I think, look at that, because really, in my opinion, if we're elected to a position, and we really need to look at what the input is from the residents, and maybe you don't hear a lot. I hear a ton. And that in essence, it's not my idea, but if I have a vast number of people saying this, then that I need to represent them and not me, what I wish.
Mhm.
And so I think this is great to show the staff at least what some of the comments are and priorities that, maybe not priorities, but let's just say there's not a lot of compliments on it. It's mainly critiquing or criticizing. And it sort of depends on where it's happening, and that's the neighborhood that's going to speak up. And you've all had it, you all get it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a citywide view, but I agree. I like that. That's kind of the goal here, is to take, you represent the community, right? You know, if you ask 10 people, the comments that you would get. And then mixing that with the staff usually makes adjustments based on applications or applying the code. When we apply the code, then it's like, well, that, like if something came back to council, it's usually because something was unclear. Not land use, but like code enforcement. When we went through, I remember when I first started, we did basketball hoops.
Yeah.
You remember the basketball hoops, right? That was something that it's like, I was the code enforcement officer at the time, and we had a situation that had never presented itself before. And I could only do so much based on our code. And so then I had to come back and say, what do we want to, how do we want to do that? And so that code got amended based on us trying to implement code. So a lot of what the staff does is simply just trying to follow code, right? Like we've had a couple of potential annexations, for example, that wanted water without annexing. They just wanted it in the county, and we have a code that says no. And so we, as staff, say no because it's the code. But if we really had a better idea or a better way to rewrite that code, then the staff would have made proposals, but nobody's come up with anything better than what we have. But that's usually from the staff level how things come up. And this is taken more of a, like you said, the public input side and getting top down and getting priorities from the council, which also might feel timely because a lot of stuff has shifted to the planning commission out of the council's hand, but you shouldn't feel disconnected. And as right, I'm right in between staff and council, right? So I have to admit, I've been confused a little bit just because I have to read the room, and I work with Jake and I work with Teresa and the engineer, I'm in all the development review meetings, and a lot of times I have to, in my mind, think, how would council feel about this? Is this a time to bring code back, right? Like, is this a potential rewrite or something like that? And over the last little while, I'm a little bit, just be honest, I've been a little confused. So one example is, I had no idea how the MRO was gonna go. We had an MRO project. Everyone seemed like they were 100% for it. It was by Napa. It was a great new thing, ton of density. Then another project comes along with the same zoning, and there's a big, I felt like it was an uncomfort, not the same level of comfort, but it's the exact same principle. So as staff, we're kind of doing what we saw, you know, or what the code says, and we feel good about it. And then when it looks like it's causing confusion or whatnot, then we really need to know, is that just like the mayor said, is that just a placement or someone's backyard? Or is this something that we want to really say, we need to look at this citywide to make sure that we're on the same page. So
we don't lose, go ahead.
You hit the nail on the head just a second ago. I was over here nodding. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but ever since, you know, the change where as a city council, we no longer have like a preliminary or a final acceptance. Yeah, I have felt a little bit disconnected. I'll sit in planning meeting and I'll hear a developer say something, and this is what we're going to do. And okay, so you know, obviously I guess the zoning allows it, but next thing I know, somebody comes up to me and says, you know, they're gonna put this many units instead of this many units, or, you know, something like that. And I'm going, no. What I heard was this, now you're telling me that's this. And so I guess I've had a little bit of heartburn over this lately, a little bit. I understand, I mean, no one has to preach to me about a general plan being a guideline or it's not set in stone. But still, I think you need to look at a general plan and say embedded in that general plan is these zones, but you know, we did, and Jake says, we're gonna do away with the 3 to 5 units per acre for medium density housing, right?
we're proposing,
Yeah,
working on it.
and so that's the one that really kind of got me, you know, thinking a little bit. So, okay, so we have a general plan that says 3 to 5 per acre.
Gross,
Well, gross, yeah. Okay, there's another. Oh, and then we go ahead and, we allow a whole bunch of units on an acre and a half, and I'm going, anyway, there's a little bit of a disconnect there for me that I'd like to kind of clean up a bit and say,
And-
whatever they say in planning meeting, hopefully that's what they're gonna be allowed to
Yeah.
do, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think our staff's incredible. I think our planner does a great job, our engineer does a great job. They're really good at sticking to the ordinances and code that we have on the books. I just think that there's a lot of stuff that needs to come together on our land use to make it, so we feel like what they're doing is according to what the city wants.
Yeah.
So that's right there's a question that nobody can answer but city council. What does the city want? I can't answer. We always tell people, well, you got to apply, you go through the process, and then we find out when everybody votes what the city wants. But in land use, that's typically the code that we've already adopted. That's not, I like this project, I don't like this project. It's usually like it either fits or it doesn't. And our planning commission's awesome right now. They put a ton of work into the general plan. They've made, I feel like, really good recommendations based on solid, comparing it against code, interpretation of code. And they're super familiar with what's on our books. I remember when I first started, I didn't get that sense, you know, and even us, how many of us have read the general plan? Well, I mean, how many of you have read the general plan all the way through
How
when?
many of us understand the language of it?
Well, that's important. That's important. I think that's kind of my thing is the effort to make sure that we stay connected and we haven't just handed everything off to the planning commission without the council still driving the.
I'll give you an example. Just today, it happened to me. A resident pointed out that this mixed overlay, it says on the inner part
Infill,
of the city.
infill.
Infield.
Yeah, infield instead of the outfield.
Mhm.
I said, And I've, you know, what do we call the infield? And the way I translate that is walkable. You have stores and businesses that are in an area, correct? And then we have developments going. And the one we have now, I haven't heard one complaint from a resident that's there. Have you? It's by your neighborhood.
No, people asking about it all the time, they're just
So-
curious and.
But everybody that lives there has the same zoning. They're all RM15 zoning, so they really have nothing to,
Yeah, and see, that's where it's confusing
yeah,
in my mind.
yeah.
And we did stick to our guns on the design part. There was an
Yeah.
inquiry to change a design and
Yep.
because the material was expensive and it was a no, this is what you agreed to.
Yep, we're working through it, so. Yep, so. Anyway, are there any other questions about this list of what they refer to?
Ty, I've got one that we could maybe put under other, if I could take a minute and explain. And it may fit into one of these that you've already got. But let me introduce it, the idea or the concept by going back to the recent Wardell rezone. And well, you mentioned, and we've had a lot of rezone requests recently, and more than we've ever seen, at least that I have in the 6 years that I've been serving as the council person. But it was interesting to me to watch that. We had the public hearing, and there were no comments in the public hearing. After the public hearing, we've had somebody here in our meeting almost, well, I would probably say every meeting since somebody has been here, both planning and council, speaking against the proposal. Now, I get it that, you know, we don't have to have the subdivision ready when we do the rezone. And let me come back to Wardell. I've had 3 residents come to me in just the last 90 days talking about our notification process in a public hearing. And I've got one that was involved over in the new one there. Yeah, well, the center point. And felt that our notification process wasn't adequate, went to the county and talked to the county attorney and got their program and felt that that was superior to ours. I had another resident that came to me and said he felt strong enough that we weren't doing as good a job as we could be, that he was willing to go out and post notices on his own, even though that rezone didn't affect him in particular or his neighborhood. So we talk about disconnect, and I go back to Wardell and say, somehow there's a disconnect between not having a single person at the public hearing and somebody here in subsequent meetings of 4, 6, whatever it's been since. I'm wondering if we could put down there, at least I would propose, and if not, maybe it's for another time or another place, reassessing our program for notice, for the public notice for public hearings. And I think that could be multifaceted. I think it would involve, the reassessment could involve the staff. What do you feel we can do? What can we get away with? Or I mean, you could notify and tell it's burdensome for sure, but what can we do that works for both the staff and the community? So I think that could be you and Janet and Teresa, for example. I think we could let Jake and Gary chime in and say, here's what's worked for other cities and municipalities in a process. And then maybe have all of us consider for another meeting, but again, if it were listed here, could that be a priority for another meeting? What are some thoughts in that regard? At the same time, if three of the five of us say what we have is adequate, let's move on. We won't waste everybody's time. But if we felt that there was some opportunity to change, or we could do that, maybe we can factor that into this right now. I'm not sure. What would you call it?
Notification process.
Okay.
Well, and I think one of the big tools that we don't use very much is to table something and get more information on.
Mhm.
It's not saying no, but what we have, the information we have, we're not. Maybe we aren't sure.
You know, and I think in the Wardell, again, back to Wardell, we had one comment that said, we feel like we're not being heard. Well, we go to the zoning, nobody shows up. The zoning passes. All the developer or the landowner has to do is meet the ordinance and it's a done deal. There's not a lot that we can do to change that once the zoning's taken place.
Correct.
In other words, can we give better notice to the homeowners, to the residents to say, come and tell us what you think? I remember sitting right there, Steve, and asking you, was there any public comment? No, there was not. And that, to be honest, had an influence in my decision.
Yeah, and I've had the same experience at the school board. When there's decisions that are being made and the public's not there.
Bingo.
And so I've suggested, when people tell me, well, participate, one thing. Well, I can't make it, or this or that. I said, okay. But there's a neighborhood in our city that they come every planning meeting. And then they actually send the results to their neighborhood on text. So they have a representative that is kind of
Yeah,
watching over things. And
but
but
not every neighborhood is that involved though.
right, and I don't think, most of the time we don't get off our couch until
Sure.
something makes our hair stand up.
You know, we have the one hearing, which I am a believer in. Again, this is items to discuss later, but the good or bad for all of that. But I think what I would propose right now is that we just give it some thought and come back at a later date with a consensus.
I've shown about 15 people in the last few days how to get on the Morgan City site. And even I can do it. It's fairly simple.
I think the hard part too, though, if I'm a resident, I'm taking the city hat off and just saying I'm a resident, and there's rezones going on all around me. Which ones am I going to care about? Oh, the one in my backyard. I'm probably not going to be looking at the website every single week to see if they're over a 10-year period, if there's going to be a rezone in my backyard. So wouldn't it be nice if I was well notified, and whatever that is, human nature, we can talk about that all day long, what works and what doesn't. But my point is there's things that do work, including our own county, which is, right here, that there's a feeling that they're doing a better job than we are.
Yes. So,
But I think part of what you're seeing there, Steve, is there's just a lot more interest in rezone and land use, and that's why you're directing people to the website. If there's more activity, let's pay more attention to it.
So you bring up a good point, David. That is, you were there the other night, a public hearing on a rezone, a planning meeting. There was one individual. Now, so your point was, so when you, tonight, when you vote on, it, does that have an impact on how you, I mean, you're gonna think about that,
Mhm.
aren't you? There was, okay, there was a concerned citizen. He wasn't even concerned really with the rezone. He was concerned more with the road, right?
With the what?
With the road going through.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I'm talking
Well,
about.
and again, that's not a rezone
No.
issue.
It really had nothing to do with the rezone, but
Yeah,
but it's gonna affect your decision. I mean, it would affect your decision tonight. You'd say, everybody seems to be fine with it, so.
But nonetheless, there was a big difference between no input and something every night, every meeting since.
Gary will remember this, I think, you know, I think it was our last council meeting where in the public comment, the one woman says something to the effect that you don't listen or it doesn't do any good to say anything. And I kind of resented that a little bit because I remember Gary, back when we had an R18 zone. And we had I can't remember if it was a council meeting or a planning meeting, and we basically had standing room only in that meeting because people, it was kind of over by Pheasant, it was over that way somewhere. There was, people did not want that small of lots in the city at the time. And they were very, very vocal about it. And there was a lot of folks here that night. And so what did we do? We listened, you know, we said, okay, we're gonna do R110 will be our smallest lot now, which it is at the moment. Now, in the future, who knows what, but I mean, for now, so yeah, if there's people here and they have something to say, we listen.
Yeah, I mean, even the rough subdivision,
Had 3 public hearings.
yeah.
We listen.
We had the
We
public
listen.
hearings, but, and again, I think we'll talk about one or two, I think, when we get into our discussion, but nonetheless, the public input had an influence. Because here was a landowner, here was the public, and we found something in between. It didn't go one way all the way or one way all the other way. And that we found something in between because of that public input.
Well, then that happened a little bit with the Rupp subdivision, remember?
When we hear about Wardell and they're telling us we're not being heard, you're almost saying, well,
Where were you?
it's too late. You can't be heard because the decision's already been made.
If I could, they have been heard. I think they're not getting what they want.
Well,
But-
fair enough.
But they have been heard. They're not getting what they want.
So there's.
And actually, the other day, we spent an hour with the applicant going through engineering, design, review, like hammering out stuff. And
Understand that, yeah.
Wardell's left feeling like they got beat up a little bit by the city because of holding them to a higher standard. So,
Okay, you guys have got your hands full.
yeah, so I'm saying there's a difference between being heard and expecting that
You-
one neighbor
Good
gets the
point.
control of the city.
Part of a good discussion, Jake.
Well,
Yeah, that's.
I would say, public education's part of it too, because a public hearing, a lot of times when people think that that's their time that they're coming to vote, you're not voting on somebody's project, you're giving your concerns about safety or traffic or water but the comments after the fact are really difficult for staff because just like we went through that review, but listening or being heard, you don't get to vote or you don't have public comment on the design of somebody's project,
That's
right? It's the rezone that,
understood.
it's the rezone, not, I mean, we have this all the time when people come in and they're like, my neighbor just put up a 20-foot barn in my backyard and blocked my view and mattered in hornets. And when do I get to tell my neighbor how to build
On his property.
on his property, right? And so there's a difference between being heard and that's the public hearing, but they need to know that that's the time to bring up all of the concerns. All the concerns can be considered. To the mayor's point, that could lead to, let's table this and go through the public comments that we've heard, or if the comments are just simply, I don't like it,
Sure.
or I don't like them, or
So
Well,
when
it's,
when I was in Colorado watching, you did a great job. Uh,
Was that last time?
there was a comment and that was made and Dave mentioned it. And today, with the compaction of the dirt behind their house, the fence had, or the wall had slipped, they've moved it. They're doing more, well, they've moved some to compact it more. She had just everything falling off her shelves from that vibration.
Mhm.
And then she says, what if that shows up a crack in my foundation? I don't really have the answer other than, I guess you'd have to prove that it wasn't there first. But those things are possible.
Mhm.
And I must say that the north side of the city has lots and lots of density.
Mhm.
And the thing that I need to say is that there's lots of kids there and they do not have a safe way over to the city if they want to ride a bike or walk. And so we keep getting more and more, like in my ward, the old people are dying off and the younger people are moving in, and we had about 10 kids in primary and now we're busting the seam. When we get a fish pond, what little guy or gal isn't gonna wanna come home from school and go over and fish? Or they try to go over to the creamery, or they try to go to McDonald's or Subway or whatever. It's flat dangerous. And it's a real safety issue. I've said it before, but I had a grandson that was coming to visit me that got hit by a car on his bike right there. And then when we did that walk, where that little cutaway is after you get under the railroad to go to Commercial Street, who is gonna do that?
Mm.
I mean, that, you better be fast.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the frustration of the citizens on an after the fact comes to the elected officials. And my comment is, how am I supposed to know how you feel if you don't express it before?
Mhm.
And
Well, that's back to the notification. I'll add one more thing, just because it's worth noting, and the five of us were there in the planning committee, or planning commission meeting, but Gary gave a wonderful explanation when the inquiry came up. We have residents who have interests, i.e. too much density, safety, and so forth. We also have landowners that have interests. Every time we make a zoning designation, we've restricted that landowner's ability to do exactly what he wants with his property. At what point do we restrict him too much, or at what, benefiting the residents? At what point do we restrict him not enough, benefiting the landowner?
I thought of that.
Remember what your answer was?
You were the balancer.
We were the balancer.
You asked the
Yeah,
question.
and that was
That's
a,
a good question.
yeah, that was an epic answer, and I've thought about that since.
And I-
We're the judge and the jury, so
About highway commercial only.
the council has to decide what is in the best interest of the community and the best interest of development. We have to respect both of them. And just like you're saying, Jake, some of the comments from landowners may not be, may not respect the developer or the landowner. Comments from the residents may not respect the landowner's interests properly either. That's where we come into play and get paid the big dollars that Gary says.
I just want, my earlier comment, I wasn't pointing a finger at anyone at all. I guess what I was really trying to say is, and a lot of this is on my shoulders as well as a city council member, but now that we don't have preliminary and that we don't have final, I mean, if we're up here and we're making a vote on a zone change, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I would like to know exactly, understanding that it's going to be staff and it's going to be maybe legal, that's going to do all the fine, get into the weeds and do that sort of thing. But I guess what I would be more comfortable with is knowing, okay, so exactly what sort of what are we going to allow there exactly? What can that density be? What's that max density?
So that goes right back to the zone. Whatever zone you adopt
Yeah. And the-
dictates all of the setbacks, all of the density, everything else. And that's why, that's on our list is, one is just the RM15 zone, but updating our ordinances to match.
Right.
We haven't gone through but that's a good comment, especially for Jake on staff comments is, this is what's allowed in that zone more so. And that's why I say it's weird to focus so much on the general plan. Typically you focus more on the zone that you're adopting, but we haven't.
Yeah, there's a number of things, the RM15 we want to fix. How many units per building? That's undefined at this point. I'd like to see it maybe 5 or 6. That's a right amount, so you break it up. Also, we don't want any driveway access onto collectors or arterial roads. We don't want everybody pulling out and slowing down traffic on a busy road. You go out the back and then you head out a single entrance.
Be
All-
changing the ordinance.
Yes, yeah. I'm just giving us some examples. We've got a whole list of things for our, but each one of our zones actually have a number of things that we've recognized,
Which one
could
of
be
these would be
fixed.
number one for you, Jake?
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get the general plan updated and done. And then also per our grant, we'll keep working on the downtown ordinance and master plan community, but those can happen in conjunction.
I was
And
gonna say-
some of those are bigger items. Master plan community ordinance is a big item, but fixing some of these ordinances also, I would like to see landscape because our landscape requirements are kind of odd and they're also well below par. I think one of the ways a lot of people get really excited and upset about density, but you can also just focus on design. Is there a way to make the buildings look a little nicer, to have nicer landscaping, to have sidewalks, to have amenities and things like that? And sometimes people are complaining about density when it's actually design, or sometimes they're just complaining about human behavior when it has nothing to do with the buildings. It's just, people.
So if I can, just my thought process of this is if anybody else has something under other to individually, like that was really good to add the process, then it'll be on everybody's list to prioritize.
Right, yeah, we
Right.
all ought to have it, including.
Yeah,
the two that
everybody
aren't
should
here.
write that on their own list. So is that okay if I just,
You'll accept the list from Gary and Jake also?
no?
What
back
were we gonna
to-
put in other?
Yeah, we could talk about that. Do you have other,
Or what Dave mentioned?
Notification.
Yeah.
Notification process.
But
is
would
there
you,
anything else that's on your mind?
more than notification, let's
Okay.
narrow that down a little bit. Is zoning change notification process or land use notification?
Just land use, because
Land use is good?
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
public hearing is what you're talking about.
Well, it could
Well,
be any-
notifying the public hearing would,
Yes.
is zeroing into it would be making sure everybody's,
And that,
I think would be the first concern.
That's a huge challenge.
yeah, and just like on utility billing, right? Like, hey, you didn't tell me. And we're like, well, we put it in the bill, we
Yeah.
sent you an email. Well, I don't check my email. Well, it was noticed at the grocery store. Well, I don't go to the grocery store. Well, we called your phone. Well, I only have a cell phone. Well, we called the cell phone on file. Well, that's my wife's cell phone.
Yeah.
Like literally, we've had that before and
Yes.
we've even had somebody say, you never let me know. And it's because the name, and they're like, well, how do we know if we knew that the name on your account was actually your name here, we would have just called your cell phone, right? But we struggle with that as staff. We don't have social media. We haven't figured out a way to do that correctly. We've done the Outify for the text group type thing, but it's for outages. It's not for, there's some rules about that, but we'll figure out, just having it on there, I think, means we can talk about it and do some homework on how we better get
I
the
think
word out.
again, I think it's a balance. We can over notify, we can under notify, but I'd submit right now that we may, because of comments I've heard and experience, we may be under notifying.
So you're saying 3 in the last year,
During the last 90
90
days.
days, yeah.
Just in part because of our increased zoning.
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah, so that's good.
It's actually not that much considering, we're at 4,500 people in
Relative to
Oregon.
where it's been though, I mean, we've had some activity recently where I only remember a couple of zoning that were at all controversial in the last 5-6 years.
Pickens.
Well, I'm talking land use, yeah.
Does Parks Plan sort of dovetail into that a little bit or?
The Parks and Trails Plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I mean, it's kind, trails and
Same.
parks are kind of one and the same, right?
Yep.
Transportation plan can be foot and
I
vehicle.
mean, I kind of put.
I would
You're just
put
gonna
focus
a
on,
foot on the trail.
I would put that separate
Okay,
because
And
the
if there's a
transportation
specific
study is more,
Bridge, I think put the bridge,
yeah.
the issue.
but as land use, just put maybe pedestrian plan.
Yeah, pedestrian,
Where are you putting, are you
Crossing.
gonna give us a new sheet?
No, just add that to, so,
yeah, add it and then
What?
rank it.
active transportation, just put active
I'm
transportation
definitely not
plan.
gonna hand it to you tonight because I'm
No,
I'm
work
gonna
on it.
You say
mull it
active?
through my head, just.
Yeah, so the
That's
next
what I
one,
wrote.
just add active transportation plan.
I'd like to hear just a little bit too, if we have time, about a master plan community ordinance versus our MRO or that they're not I assume they're not the same, but what's the
No,
difference?
no, they're not the same. But there is some of the same ideas of the MRO in terms
Yeah,
of open
that is all.
space, mixture of building types, things like that.
Look at it in
Yeah,
the
it's,
general plan.
it's all in the general plan. There's nothing new on the master plan community. Everything's general plan from last year.
Then what were you asking for? I mean, what would this be here, Ty?
We don't have it developed right now. We don't have an ordinance.
But
We
we
have
do-
it in the general
we
plan,
have
but
it
it's
in the-
not the ordinance,
In the general plan,
Yeah.
but
not the ordinance.
not an ordinance yet. So we do
Right.
need an ordinance then.
Yep.
So
And the idea is that it would just be an ordinance on the shelf for when a landowner chooses to exercise their property rights, they could then apply for it.
Yeah, some more than like a 10-acre development, right? It would be spelled out.
nonetheless, how, if it's on the shelf, or is it what, another tool in the cloud that we're bringing down?
Yeah,
Then why don't we just use the MRO?
because it's for a much bigger property. So there could be parks and trails to it or other things.
Be more like a city then, huh?
No, not quite the city level, but in between.
But it might have little markets.
Yeah, there could be
some retail,
some,
it could have,
But it would behave like an MRO. It's just in a bigger scale.
in
bigger scale.
zoning form, yes.
Yeah.
That you'd apply for as an overlay. That's what we've discussed it as an overlay zone.
Yeah, as an overlay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
so any other, under other, so I just put, active transportation plan. That's the foot traffic.
So that, okay, active is different than transportation.
Yeah.
The trails is kind of, I would, our trails plan is actually our active transportation plan.
Okay. We good with that?
Okay,
So what-
Gary. Can we move to you? Have you got anything like,
May I ask one quick question though?
Yep.
On this right here, where would like, I'm trying to think of was sidewalks, for example. So, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of noise about a sidewalk somewhere down Island Road.
Island
or-
Road,
Yeah.
Yep.
Where would we just put?
I would, that's why I put active transportation plan, because
Okay.
it's not necessarily a trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
How you move through the.
Yeah. And it could be implementation. I mean, that's really what you're talking about because
Yeah, that's,
I think the general idea is that a sidewalk trail of some type on Island Road. The question is
Yeah,
funding it.
yeah.
and I
Gary,
followed this school bus
Need to.
behind it tonight when they were dropping kids off on Island Road. Scary.
Okay.
Well, I've heard quite a few people talk about it.
Transportation lines.
There's nowhere.
Kids to go on the sites.
Okay. And then.
Probably ought to be.
Gary's got one maybe to add.
Just, well, just real quickly, since the mayor. I've got 7 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm in instruction. We'll go towards your yearly education.
Yeah.
Yes.
To the mayor's point, one of the best ways of making decisions is to know and understand the process and procedures. And it's been a long time since we've looked at the procedures for things like reconsideration. And really, until these things come up, you don't realize that they're available to you. You know, what types of things are available to you? Or what are the implications of, for example, tabling something versus just continuing it to the next meeting, next regular meeting, or to actually denying it, which makes a big difference in a rezone situation, right? Whether you table it, whether you continue it. If you table it, you table it to a date certain. If you continue it, it's generally to the next regular meeting because you want more information on the thing. And if you deny it, then that's pretty terminal for somebody who wants to come back with a zoning decision, the same thing, and apply for it again. Maybe they do a little work with Jake and they figure out a way of actually putting the thing into play. And maybe the planning commission has had input into it and now it's ready to go. They can't come back for a full year if you've actually denied the application. So that's significant.
Do you know-
that rule is significant?
Gary, in our last meeting, I don't think you were here. I think it was Tony and I had one of the visitors come up and say, why did you not make a motion to deny that? We didn't make a motion at all. And you pointed out that by not making a motion, the applicant had an opportunity to bring that back at any time, where if a motion was made and denied, it would be the 1 year period.
Right, so there's the fourth thing, right?
Yeah.
Is if you don't make a decision on an application, the application just is removed from the agenda and it's not deemed a denial.
So we actually
And
worked
so
through one of those.
You actually help the developer out by doing that, by just not making a decision on it.
Which
Never seen it before.
overrides
That was-
tabling something brings the same, we're not denying it. We want to look at it and then they can bring it back the next.
That's correct. The difference that I would see there would be if you don't make a decision on something, generally you don't write down all the things that you want to know more about the project before you actually approve it. Tabling is a good thing because in a tabling situation, you're required to actually identify those things that Jake needs to look at, Matt needs to look at, the staff need to look at.
What are we missing?
What are we missing here?
Yeah.
Somebody says, everybody's gonna die on that street because the street is too sharp an angle and snow removal is impossible, that type of thing. I'd like to table it to get more information on the road, on whether or not snow removal is possible. So we go to Lance, we go to our employees and we're able to identify what the issues are. But tabling allows you to designate the things that you would like to see them come back with, which is very helpful for the developer. Just not making a decision on it, the developer kind of doesn't have a clue as to what you're really wanting. So tabling is a valid and a valuable thing, Mayor. So.
Well, I learned that from Mayor Pace when I was on the planning commission. He appreciated it a lot.
Yeah, I don't understand this principle. I'd like you to come back, Jake, with some more information on this or that. Now, delays, unreasonable delays are what we try to avoid. And they're what make their way to the legislature. And where you table it and table it and table it without any reason.
Right.
That's frustrating for developers. And that's the reason for the time clocks that they have actually put on applications and for making decisions is because of the fact that they were pushing it way, way out into the future. And that takes away their time is money for development. And, we realize that. A lot of you have been in business on your own or been in private businesses and you realize that the longer it takes to make a decision on something that where you're eating up dollars while you're making that decision, the tougher it is for you. And so it is important that we have a reason we're gonna table it, but that's one thing that's available to you. Also, you've used just recently the reconsideration because there were facts that you didn't know and didn't know about, and reconsideration is a valid item in you do have a set of procedures. I don't know if you knew that. But you do have a set of procedures. They don't follow Robert's rules exactly, but they give you the opportunity to reconsider an application in the next regular meeting. But after that, a person's pretty much vested after that. And they can proceed forward with their project. There has to be a point at which they can say, I'm sure the city council is not going to reverse itself. And so they can move forward with that action. And so those are just a couple of little things procedural wise. And that took me 5 minutes rather than 7. And now you got 2 minutes for the restroom.
What's the difference between reconsideration and a table?
Reconsideration is you've already made a decision. And the next regular meeting, you want somebody from the side that voted in favor of that decision can actually make a motion to reconsider a decision that you've already made. Whereas tabling is just simply, you haven't made a decision yet.
So
You
we
need
came up
more
with
information.
Wardell.
You have to notify the developer.
Yeah, that was the Wardell.
It's
case
under
that
a
we didn't-
reconsideration.
Correct.
Nothing
As
happened.
quickly as possible.
And
Ty's got a comment. I just have a real quick question. If you table something and then at the next meeting, you just decide not to vote on it, is that,
Then it's the same as if you had
can,
not voted at it at the prior meeting. You just,
that's okay?
that's okay.
To table it and then still
not
not
vote.
bring it to a vote? Okay.
Yeah, reconsider, so you could actually go back to the next meeting and say, okay, we want to reconsider that vote.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
You notify the developer as quickly as possible because there's something called estoppel. In other words, a reasonable reliance on a decision that was made by a public body. It's never been used in the state of Utah that I can remember, but nonetheless, it's, if it was unreasonable, say our planner had made a decision on an over-the-counter decision, or Teresa did, or I did, the mayor did, then, and they had reason to rely on that, they can actually go back and get the costs of everything they put out as a result of that bad decision. that somebody
And I
made.
think in our recent reconsideration that we did was valid because we had a piece of property that was misclassified. I think that was a legitimate reason to reconsider.
Mistake is a good
Yep.
reason for
Good.
reconsideration. But thank you. These are good questions.
Thank you.
It'd be fun just one night to
Give the whole.
do a
meeting
roulette
here.
wheel and just, so we go through whatever,
Need to let you start
whatever items you like.
with the training and then move on to other stuff.
Yeah. It's fun. This is fun stuff. I know, I've worked.
It is fun. I actually told people I like sitting down with planning commission. Thanks.
Interesting. I know. Especially when you got the stress of it. The public. You don't understand it. So, yeah, it's an education process, right? Same. What? These aren't the same.
Morgan City does not even have a commercial buildings. Is that right? And these apartments are.
Yeah. Oh, you got one. Okay. I couldn't see your mic.
I don't know.
Well.
All spheres.
Loud mouth.
No.
anybody need 2 more minutes or?
You know, one thing I've seen other cities do is. This is running. Just nice.
Such a rare occasion in our city. They live by.
Yeah, I don't think people go, I'm just telling you, I've seen other cities like that.
I think I can, as a citizen, come in here and say, this is what I would like to see.
No, I struggle a lot. They're not gonna use this, are they?
Oh, no.
Just in case.
So if you. I've got your pen. Well, that needs. Okay.
Yes. See, yeah.
Like this, wherever you want to put it. Yes.
Roll.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, let's begin. Appreciate everybody here. Thank you for the effort. I'd like to welcome you to the Morgan City Council meeting, and it's November 25th, 2025, one of my son's birthdays. So I'd like to welcome everybody here. I've asked Chris if she would give the pledge. The reason I asked her is a huge sacrifice that her husband gave for our freedom. And repeat after her.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll ask Jeffrey if he'd lead us in a prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this beautiful fall evening that we have to meet here in the Morgan City Chambers and to be able to discuss and think through the issues that our city is dealing with at this time. And Heavenly Father, at this time, as we're looking to plan for the future, we want to show gratitude unto Thee and to our friends and neighbors and community for the area that we have, especially at this Thanksgiving time, that we can show gratitude and be grateful for this community and the way that it has helped raise all of us and all of our families. We're so grateful for this community that has been protected in this valley for so long. Help us at this time to use a clear mind and follow thy promptings to make decisions that will enable the future generations to be blessed by this valley. We ask a blessing to be upon those that are traveling to be with loved ones at this holiday season. The protection will be afforded and that people will be able to use good judgment and patience, and that we can all have an enjoyable time with family and friends this holiday season. Heavenly Father, we are again grateful for all that we have and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, if we go to item C, I'll accept a motion of the meeting's approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I will make a motion that we approve of tonight's meeting agenda.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Under 2, item A and item B, minutes of the city council meeting, October 28, 2025, and the warrants for 10/25/25 through 11/21/25. I was at that meeting on Zoom, so
Mayor, I have a comment on the minutes as I was looking through them. Was that the meeting that you were on electronically?
yeah.
Okay, so, it says mayor and council members present, Mayor Steve Gale. He probably would have been a council member present electronically, right? And then also down here, the meeting was called to order by Mayor Steve Gale.
Mayor Pro Tem Tony London.
Yeah, I think those corrections probably should be made. And I don't know, as I looked through it, I didn't see
I
any.
noticed those two. I didn't know what to say because I wasn't here. So thank you for studying that. So did you make a motion with those corrections?
No, but I will. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve of the minutes of the city council meeting on October 28th, 2025 with those corrections that I just noted. And also the warrants from October 25th, 2025 through November 21st, 2025.
Have any other discussion on that or correct?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Okay, so the mayor's been preaching this for a long, long time that he loves public to come to the meetings. Probably not necessarily with those I love because I live by them. And I can look out and I mean, there has been so many incredible things that we've all participated in together. And so I appreciate those that have come to make a comment. Scott, I have an application here on the form, and thank you for what effort you've put in to reinforce your comment. So we'll have you step to the podium and state your name, and even though we know who you are.
My name is Scott Jensen. I live across the street from the mayor on 700 East. And I've been here the last few meetings concerning the Wardell development project there on the corner of 700 East and Jenny Lane. I've submitted an alternative concept to the city, the planning commission, and the developer for consideration of something similar. I've handed it out to most everybody to see what I'm proposing. It boils down to, I guess, the developer, are they stubborn? They're going to push ahead with what they have in mind originally, or are they open to considering an alternate workable plan or something like it that I haven't got a vote from the people in attendance, but, at least one person has expressed feeling that my proposal or something like it would be much better. So I will leave it at that and let everybody else have a chance to comment on this.
Thank you. Now, one thing, if this is your first time,
Did I state my name?
you did.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. 690, what's your address?
696.
696, okay, 700 East, just.
690 is what's on the
Yeah,
neighbor's mailbox.
okay. We don't really come up with solutions, and that sounds weird, but we discuss it. And we work through it with the city staff, and so opinions are important. And clear back in high school, my opinion didn't really go very good. But at least I got to say what was on my mind. And that's what this is about. It has been approved, the zoning change, and therefore when it comes with the formal or the final application, then that's when a developer can change his mind or have a change of heart, whatever you want to call it. So just keep that in mind. We aren't ignoring you or not listening to you, but we just spent an hour before going through a lot of things that we're trying to get up to where we need to be as a council, and those that are, well, I guess the mayor, the ones that are voted in, because and I'll just give my preach. I've been up since 1 o'clock in the morning, knowing that many of you would be here. And so I've been trying to prepare this, and I just have this statement that the cities all over the state and all over the nation are really under some heavy changes. And we've seen lately in our city a lot of development going on. Many of us, shouldn't say us, but there's many comments that come to me that we should just put a gate or a toll bridge and have to have a certain card to get into the city to live here, but we know that doesn't work. So keep that in mind. I know the passions are sort of high. I've talked to a few of you have talked to me, and so I'm just trying to set out a guideline that it's important to be heard and it's important to be considered. One of the things that is even better is if this kind of group comes before decisions are made. It makes life a lot easier. So we're working on and discuss some ways that we can maybe improve notification, which was brought up by Dave, and it's great. So that we can have an advanced notice of, oh, this is in my backyard. And so just keep that in mind, but please know that we genuinely are concerned, and we love this city dearly, all of us, same as you do. So with that sermon, whoever would like to make a comment, come to the podium, and state your name, and then we have open theirs.
Cherie Jensen, 696 North, 700 East, on the corner of the, what he said. I forgot my hearing aids, so I didn't hear a word you said, Steve, but you're a good guy, I'll accept it. So anyway, everyone knows that the Wardell Brothers plan is not happy, doesn't make the neighborhood happy at all. And we're not happy with the developers, we're not happy with the contractors, we're not happy with the planning commission, and we are not happy with the city council. We're just plain not happy. So we know that, in our opinion, that the Wardell Brothers are, with their plan, they're overbuilding on what we feel they're overbuilding on the size of the lot that they have. So I've got to ask the city council, because I believe it doesn't hurt to ask, who are the city council and planning commissions here to serve? The residents or the developers? Because I don't think you understand that you have a lot of animosity and resentment building up in this neighborhood towards you and the planning commission and the developers. The Wardell plan runs a driveway out to 700 East, 3 feet from our mailbox and our driveway. So how many of you have 14 vehicles entering and exiting your property onto a busy street? Anybody? Well, Scott and I are going to have to live with that if the Wardell project continues. Scott has put a lot of effort and time into giving alternatives that I wish somebody would pay attention to. Okay, so where are the Wardell, with the Wardell plan, where are they planning on putting extra 28 garbage cans and lining them up? And with the Wardell plan, where's the snow going to be piled up? How many of you have even gone down and looked and walked the property to look at the impact that it's having on the residents down there? Anybody? Oh, good. I hope that it made an impression on you of what we're going to have to live with. Because if you pass and approve this plan, all the neighborhood's going to have to live with the consequences of your bad choices. But I'm afraid of what I've run into is there's an attitude on the city council that it's not my problem. And I hate to say that, but that's what I've been seeing and talking to one of the city council members. And on top of that, there's going to be another 120 vehicles added to Jenny Lane and then dumped onto to 700 East. I don't know if everybody knew that. It's already a dangerous road. So who's the city being built for? I think that's something that we all would like to talk to you individually about. Who are you actually going to represent? The units are not family friendly. They're small. You know, just looking at the plan, that they're going to be sold as rentals eventually to rental investors. And it's not going to be low cost ones. I don't care what they say. It's not going to be low cost. And there's not going to, so you're going to have renters coming and going and not contributing to the city like so many of your long-term residents have done. We have had so many people on 700 East that have lived there for decades and contributed to this city, but renters come and go, and there's nothing wrong with renters. They come and go, but those units, and Scott measured them, are so small that they're not going to attract families to invest in those. I just would like to say both the Planning Commission and the City Council have not shown that you really are interested in this neighborhood or this community. And so I just like to, we do have legitimate concerns. So I have the feeling, and you've heard this before, that our cause may be just, but there just ain't going to be anything you can do for us.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Okay, Katie Tilby. My address is 601 East Ridgeline Drive here in Morgan. So my comments are more general, but they do fit in what's being discussed tonight. Some things I've heard said is that we need to make sure our kids and grandkids can live here. And I actually disagree with that. It isn't up to the city or we as parents to make sure there is affordable housing for them. And affordable housing, it doesn't work in my mind, especially if they're rentals. I'm kind of sick of hearing that word, I'll be honest, that term, because at the rate it's happening, it's otherwise known as a high profit margin. I don't know. That's how I see it. So it can make sense sometimes, but not as often as it's being done here and everywhere you look. And I also agree that rentals can especially change the dynamic of existing homes and the neighborhoods around them. And it just does. It's nothing against the renters. It's just the idea of what it can do. So we need to be careful with that as well. And the issue with proper infrastructure and roads, safety of the existing homes, that was brought up last meeting. Those are all a major part of these sorts of things that are maybe easy to ignore but shouldn't be. And it was odd to me at the last meeting that the agenda item had no motion. I didn't love that. It was neither approved nor disapproved. And so if you're not for it, then vote against it and let it sit for a year before it can be brought up again. Evaluate things and look at the past so prior mistakes are not repeated. So we own 2 homes, one out of state, before owning a home in Morgan. And it took us a while to get back here. And we were okay with that. It was okay. We knew that's how it might be. We didn't expect our parents, neither of our parents helped us with our first home. I mean, we lived at my parents until we were able to move into our home, but we didn't expect the city or anyone to make sure we could be here. We knew it was up to us and it was okay. There was no feeling otherwise there. And so I loved in the opening how we are a protected valley. I loved that. And we are rural. And like I said, some things make sense and they do beautify our valley. I'm not against growth. I'm not against that. But we don't have to do what other cities do, especially bigger cities. And I agree that we as the public should attend when possible. And we try to, yet we do vote on our representatives to consider how this affects their constituents. It's hard to find that balance, but overall it boils down to trusting who we vote for. So thank you for this opportunity.
Any more comments? Jim?
Jim Hendershot, 803 East, 525 North, Morgan. First, I'd like to say that I appreciate all of your service. You've got not an easy job, and I recognize that. I do feel, though, that there are some things that are not only detrimental to me that are going on, but also detrimental to my neighbors. And several years ago, I approached the city with a plan to build just a little patio, little home for my wife and I to retire on my property. And I was met with extreme opposition. And after
a long time of fighting over it, I gave up. Then roll the camera 5 years forward. And I wake up one morning, property right next to mine has been rezoned. These 20 tiny units are being put up and has adversely affected my home. Somebody told me, well, I even heard from a city council member that those things are hideous. So my question is, why was I refused? And why was the ground rezoned? And those units were allowed to go in there. They're right in the middle of a housing subdivision. And I have been told that those things will not devalue my property. Now, I've been in commercial real estate and real estate for 40 plus years. And I know that's not true. I have watched it over and over and over again. I have watched people lose money. I have watched people's homes be devalued. And from my experience, I am not against multifamily housing. I am not against development. I am not against those developers. That's their business. I'm happy with that. But it seems like there is a place that those things should be done. Now, if you want to increase value of properties, put those units near commercial developments. They will patronize those developments and the property values will grow based on income of those properties. Many places that I've been have master plans where these units are to go. It seems that they're being arbitrarily dropped right in the middle of subdivisions and houses where they don't belong. I dare say that if a proposal was brought up here today to put those things in your backyard where they are mine, I don't know that any one of you would vote for that. You've been elected to represent us as citizens. And it does seem that developers are getting a little bit more consideration than the citizens are getting. I know the developers. I know they've got lots of ground in their own backyards. You know, why don't they develop them in their backyards? They wouldn't do that. You know, I've lived here 33 years. Never considered moving from Morgan. But because of this and a couple of other issues that have gone on, I'm ready to pack it up. I know that may not mean anything to anybody, but it means something to my family. You know, I think there are ways to accomplish something that will work for everybody. We talk about thinking outside the box. We do that in real estate all the time. We come to an impasse. And if we work together hard enough, we can usually overcome that impasse and to the benefit of both parties. My plea today is to urge you to consider all of these issues. Consider how these things would impact your home. I worry about the kids. There's going to be kids in those developments, and where are they going to play? Either in the streets or in my yard or in somebody else's yard because nothing has been provided for them. And it's dangerous. I've watched a kid get hit by a car, and that's a serious matter. there is a lot of traffic over there, and it seems like that's being overbuilt. Please consider these things as you make final decisions. And know that they do not just allow the developer to make money, but they impact our lives, and sometimes very negatively. I would urge you to consider that, and I thank you for letting me voice my opinion today.
Thank you. Thane?
Okay, I attended the last meeting. By the way, my name's Thane Kilburn and I live at 721 North, 700 East, Morgan. I'm across the street from where all this is going on, but it affects me a great deal. And I appreciate what Scott and Sharia said. Jim, there's a lot of concerns over there. And I look around and they just keep growing, in my opinion. Today I drive up on Hill. Looks like we're building a reservoir up there. When they put Jenny Lane in, I asked the contractor, I says, are we building a road or a spillway? The day they put the road base down, it was a downpour. Wardell's trucks was hauling in there and they had mud tracked from that intersection clear over the hill past the cemetery. They had a broom there, brooming it off the edge of the road into all the storm drains. That don't fly in most cases. But it seems like to me that these contractors are getting away with a lot more than they should be. And I think it needs to be addressed. And where's our, Mr. Young, you are our only planner in the city. Okay. I just wonder where you stand in all this. Because I don't see a whole lot of planning going on. There's no planning for our future. There's no planning for our kids. This reservoir they're building up there, it looks like something that the rancher, some stock pond that a rancher would build. Is it engineered? Where's that water gonna go if something happens there? That brings back to the point of the Jenny Lane. We got 2 retention ponds there that does absolutely nothing except divert the water down the hill across the street on somebody else. And the developers just keep getting away with this. And not to beat up the Wardells, but they have no regard for anybody in that neighborhood over there, none. And we have lived there for decades, just like they said. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with some of the decisions that's being made. Like Sharia, I don't agree with the attitude. It affects us all in the long run. We all have to live in this community. And I go away from these meetings looking at people different than I wanted to when I got here. So I urge all of you to take a good, long, hard look. I don't know how one planner and one engineer can oversee everything that is going on around this town. And another thing, I shouldn't bring this up, but I will. Jeff Wardell is an uncle to Wardell brothers. How does that fly? Also, I know that he owns Skyview Excavation. I look it up as a woman-owned company, but that seemed pretty convenient. So I look at that as a conflict of interest. And if that's the kind of stuff that goes on here, I think I might look to move too. Thank you.
Hey, any more that,
My name is Linda Gale and I live 699 North, 700 East. And thank you for allowing me to make a comment. It might be kind of similar to what's been said, but I don't think it's bad to reiterate and revisit some of these things because they're really important to us. They matter a lot to us. So I feel for every person on this earth because they need to have a place to live. I get that. I do not have a problem with that. But being a good resident of the city does not mean that we just have to lay down because there was an expert developer, an expert planner, or an expert whoever, and we just lay down and take what they do. And we've kind of been doing that for like 20 years over there. And I think we're to the point in all aspects of our life, and we saw that in the last 5 years for sure, but we need to do some really critical thinking, really critical thinking. We need to look at the past. We need to look at how it's going to impact things down the road, because it really matters. You know, I might not be here another 20 years, but there'll be a lot of people that will be over there for 20 more years. So it will be the people who move in, which we love and we will not shun for sure, but it will be us and them who actually live this experience. It won't be the people that made the decisions. It won't be the developers. It won't be the planners. Usually the developers don't even live where they develop. And so just some examples of what we're living through already and that we have lived through. This is anonymous. I won't give any names, but one person said to me, my house has been vibrating all day with whatever they're doing behind my house, to the point that there were items that came off my shelves. And this person says, I am worried about the damage that could be happening to my home. You know, do we just have to sit and take it? And then in the new apartments up Diane's Way, someone has reported that there's car alarms going off all the time. You know, they're dealing with what you have to deal with when you have lots of people living around you. And I realize that's an adjustment, but did it have to be that dense? That's what I say. And then as we visit in these high density places that are around us, there really is nowhere to park. We were doing that the other day, and the person that was behind me in a car, because we had to be in a couple different cars, said to me, I don't even know where to park because I'm parking in front of someone's driveway. And one time I was up there anonymously shoveling some snow in the winter, and so I had to park my car in the road, kind of leave it right there. I couldn't go because if somebody came through there, they could not get through this area with my car there, but I had nowhere to park it because of the snow. And you know what? It snows a lot here. And then the other thing is, and it's been brought up, who's going to be left with, anybody going to compensate for my decreased property value? Would it be the city? Would it be the developer? You know, who would compensate for that? Which I think is inevitable, because I think anytime you mix this high density with a neighborhood that's been single dwelling homes for years and years and years, it's going to be destructive to that neighborhood in some way. It just is. And then the other thing, and I know I don't really know much about this. I've talked to a couple people that are concerned. Do we really know if there's enough water? I just look at all the water every household uses every day. I don't know that we really have enough water, and I don't really trust the experts on anything anymore. I think they say what they want to say to get what they want to get done. So just please know we love living here. We do love people, but this has got to be like reasonable for on both sides of the deal. It's not just, and I do agree with the comment. I do not think it is the city's responsibility, a parent's responsibility to make sure all the kids can live here. That is their responsibility. And I realize we live in tough times, but I don't think the high density is gonna solve all the problems. Thank you.
Just one little comment. Can I come home tonight? Is there?
No dinner tomorrow. So.
No, yeah. Is there any more comments? Okay, thank you for what you've laid in front of us, and thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve, and for what we'll learn, and for what these experiences bring. Appreciate very much. I love the public to come to here, but just in one response, we are elected, that's true, and you have confidence in us, but we actually don't hardly ever know what you want. So the decisions are left to the council, without any public input. And I've taken opportunity in the past to attend some school board meetings. And the reason being is because sometimes we didn't agree with what was going on. And some of those, in the situations they were in, they listened. So we are listening. There's one difficult thing about this one is it's already been approved. And it would have been wonderful to have enough public input to maybe help us think through things. So I appreciate what you've said. It won't be ignored. And we just before this meeting, we're being trained on some things and some tools that we can use. And so thank you. And please, as a neighborhood, maybe get together and say, how can we keep informed? And I think all of you know that that would be either Zoom in or attend. So thank you for your time. And if you're free to leave if you need to or want to. But we will now move on to the next item. On the active agenda, item A, review an action on an ordinance amending the zoning designation of a parcel of property containing a total of approximately 1.95 acres located at approximately 330 north, 300 west by changing the zoning designation thereof from the existing RR to R110 on 1.26 acres of the 1.95 acres, providing for the amendment to the zoning map, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 2515. Jake, turn that over to you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for your time. Going to go ahead and do a screen share here. We'll pull up the report that was included in your application, or excuse me, in the packet tonight. There we go.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a statement?
Yes, please.
I've been here for 3 or 4 meetings where the public has actually been here and commented on the same application. For the last 40 years, I've worked up at the legislature. And for the last 10 years, development community has grown increasingly strong on the Hill, as you're probably aware of. And then on top of that, we have the difficulty that we're facing right now with the governor's office has indicated we need 45,000 new units in the state of Utah, regardless of where they're going to be placed. But what they have done, or what they've managed to do, is they've managed to take a lot of the decision-making power on things that still are administrative acts away from the council. In fact, in the area of subdivisions and what you're seeing here, site plans, the council is not going to see this again. The council made a determination, and the reason I'm raising it is because the decision you're seeing before the council right now is a decision with a recommendation from the Planning Commission on a rezone. That is really the only thing that the city council sees anymore is the rezone application. They don't even see the details anymore because the details are supposed to be covered in our ordinances. And if they're not covered adequately in our ordinances, we need to do a better job of putting those together so that they are tighter. But this council makes a decision on what's called legislative decision, and that is the rezone decision or the master plan decision. But as far as once that's approved, it goes back to the planning commission and staff. And not only have they taken that, the council used to see that. It would go all the way through planning commission, staff, planning commission, and council. But it doesn't even do that anymore. It doesn't come back to the council anymore. And they made sure that it didn't. By state law, they don't allow it to go back to the council. The other thing is that they've only given planning commission the ability to do a preliminary approval on these administrative determinations. And when I say administrative determinations, you put your laws in place and the city has to abide by its own laws. And if it violates those laws, the developer can sue the city, essentially is what ends up happening. They're called administrative decisions. There is no discretion on the part of the city council, not at all. The planning commission has very little discretion because the planning commission's responsibility is not to represent the citizens. The planning commission represents the ordinance. And the planning commission has to abide by the ordinance. So if the ordinance says something that everybody in the room hates, they still have to, the planning commission has to bite their tongue and just do it. That's the reason our ordinances have to be good. They have to be complete. They have to deal with the issues that you're mentioning, things like snow removal, things like access on roadways, those types of things. They have to be, because once they're in place, the developer has a right to develop within the parameters of that ordinance. It doesn't go back to the council and the council looks at it and says, oh yeah, this isn't probably a really good place for 4 entrances onto the street. They can't do that because if the ordinance says that there can be 4 entrances, the planning commission doesn't have a choice. They have to abide by the ordinance. And then not only did they take the final decision away from the planning commission, but they also took the final decision completely away from the planning commission and said, somebody else has to make the final determination. They have to give final flat approval. And it can't be the city council and it can't be the planning commission. And so the only people left to make those decisions are your staff, are the staff members, your experts, so to speak. And what they do is they compare the ordinance to what the developers put in place. And I've got to tell you that we've spent many hours with the Wardells wrestling over what the ordinance really means, looking at ways of addressing the issues that you have raised here in this meeting, looking at the ordinance, sometimes torturing the ordinance to make sure that they comply with every aspect of it, because really the only way of dealing with density or dealing with access onto streets and that type of thing is for the engineer to say, this doesn't fit. You can't put that many units on there and have this distance between garages, that type of thing. So we have to apply the ordinance. We try to do it the very best we can. We try to do it as tight as we can. We don't let them have an inch. And then we try to push them just a little bit further, the staff does. But in the end, the planning commission has to follow the ordinance. And if they don't, they can be sued, not only as a city, but individually as planning commissioners, if they don't do what they're supposed to do and make the decision the way they should be made. So this body here, I feel for them. I can see that I just feel that the disappointment in them, they're not being able to deal with all of the things that you've asked them to deal with, because they just can't. They've got their hands tied because of what the legislature has done and continues to do every single year. I fought that for 40 years with the league. And every year, there's just a little more progress into what I call local decisions. The width of a road, that ought to be a local decision, right? No, the legislature took that and said, you cannot make a road bigger than 32 feet wide. You can't do that anymore. I can name a number of other things where the legislature has just stepped in and literally taken over the decisions. They're not here sitting in these seats, listening to you. And, I feel for you and what you're saying to these guys, but they don't have any choice in the matter. In most of these decisions, they don't have any choice. The things they do have a choice about, they're trying to address and to work with. And they're going to try harder, I can promise you, after everything that's been said here. But the difficulty is they don't have the ultimate decision. So every time you come here, I feel bad for you. I hear what you're saying, but this body, it's not in their hands anymore. When they made the zoning decision, the decision on the zoning, which was consistent with the general plan, they made the decision and now it goes to the ordinance, and the ordinance has to be addressed by the planning commission and they have to follow it. If they don't follow it, like I say, they can be sued over not following it. So I wanted to kind of explain what the lay of the land is because I feel bad for them every time you come because they want to do something, but they can't. What they can do is they can look at the ordinance and tighten it up. And that's what, tonight they looked at all the things in the hour before saying we need to tighten up, we need to give more notice, we need to figure out a better way to do notice, we need to do this, that, and the other thing. But as far as addressing the issue on this piece of property, on the number of units and on the other things, we're going to have to just look at the ordinance and just tighten it up as much as we can according to the ordinance. And if we need to change the ordinance, we need to change the ordinance. And they're listening to you. But they can't, what they can do is they can change the ordinance, and that's probably what they'll do. So I've talked too much, but that's what lawyers get paid to do all the time. So I apologize to you, but I just wanted you to understand the pressure that they're under. And then on top of that, they have to balance the rights of the property owner. And you'll see that tonight in this zone change application. The property owner has some rights too, and they have to balance that against the city as a whole, the interests of the city as a whole. And that's a tough thing to ask these guys to do. But that's what they get paid so much money for doing, right? And those of you that know what they get paid know that that's just totally not true. But anyway, I just wanted to make that statement. I'm not trying to get them off the hook, but I'm trying to tell you the way things really happen. So
I'll just make one comment on our work meeting. We have a list as council members to go home and dissect this and come out collectively. And a lot of the things I'll just let you know, it's land use table, ordinance update to match general plan, smaller lots on single family options, master plan community ordinances that we need to write into the master plan, and then we're stable. Well, a little bit more stable, but at least we have a say here before it comes to here. So, thank you. Jake.
Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed with the application. So this property is proposed for rezone. It's 330 North, 300 West, also called Island Road. It's a proposed rezone for the back half of the property. The front half is R110, or excuse me, it's R18, but no, that one is, excuse me. And yeah, the front is R18, which functions as R110 in our zoning ordinance. And it's currently zoned rural residential, and the applicant has requested through application to rezone to R110. And this is the back half of the property, you can see that. And it is 1.2 acres of the total 1.9 acres. So a little bit unusual that it's the back half of the property. And they're looking at potentially doing a flag lot or flag lots back there. Here's a map of the zoning. You can see where the R18 is. You can see where the rural residential, and then also ag over here, and then the RM15 and over here to these. So a little bit of everything in the area. But 300 West or Island Road is all R18 in this area. Here it is on the general plan. General plan identifies it as medium density residential, which is compatible with the R110 in that area. Here's kind of a front view, 300 West. And then some of the details. no sensitive lands, no new streets are proposed on this property. Again, just the 1.2. We had a public hearing on it at Planning Commission, and there were some comments about concerns over safety on Island Road. No comments directly against the rezone. Concerns over children, traffic, access, all that on Island Road. Just one thing that I think you should be aware of, and I've mentioned to the applicant who's here, that our general plan does have some road connections in that area in terms of the future. This is not a road plan, but I think just letting them know for the record that they have been proposed on the transportation plan. Anytime we have, how the transportation plan works is that the city is not going out, and some cases the city will go out and get property and make something happen. But a lot of times new streets come when somebody wants to develop that area and there's an application and then there needs to be access and then they work back and forth. It's not always in the exact spot that's on the map, but there's a little bit of process on it. And we need to do this so that we can have a network for walking, driving around, public safety, trash, snow, all of that. And Island Road is a challenging area. And so the city's looked at multiple ways to have access into the Island Road. And we've identified, as you can see on the map, many different access points that we want to work towards in the future. So, as I've mentioned, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and they voted in favor of it and recommended it to the City Council. And the applicants are here if you'd like to hear from them or any comments to them for you, make a decision on this. Any questions for staff in terms of the report and the background?
One question, Jake. The proposed rezone boundary doesn't look like it matches the property boundary. Why the difference?
Well, it does match. Let me see.
Looks like in the southeast corner, it cuts.
This
leaves a
corner
piece.
Yeah, that actually is not part of the parcel
Oh, okay.
on it. So it does match up, and also the rezone is legally per the legal description, which is in the ordinance.
So the legal description and the rezone description, legal description of the property, the rezone description are identical.
Yes,
Okay.
and our engineer has reviewed that from the application and found it be coherent and right on. That's something we double checked, because that's what stands is the legal description.
Secondly, not that it's significant, maybe the applicant could chime in, but it's 1.2 out of 1.95. Why wouldn't we just rezone the whole 1.95?
Well, because that's what their application was, and also
Yeah,
that's what. If you will.
Let them answer that. Okay.
Because the current zoning is R18, and the city's not doing any new R18 currently. So that's why, and there's no reason for them to downzone to R110.
Okay.
And so they do want to zone to R18 so that they could build a smaller flag lot if and when they ever decided to. And of course, we're just doing a rezone, not a building application at this point. But
All right, yeah, that answers. Thank you.
does that make sense?
That works.
Part of that is because the R18, I think, and we're not doing new R18, and also there's no reason to look at that. And I think it keeps Island Road cohesive in terms of the whole zone.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you.
So the, the existing home, it'll sit on like 0.75 acres. And this new, I said, so the existing home there will sit on 0.75 acres, and then you'll have 1.2 acres back in the back. Is that correct? The whole thing's 1.95. And so we're right. Yeah, right. So that front lot would still be, yeah, like 0.70 or 0.75 acres. Okay. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
So we were at planning meeting the other night, and you and I, Dave and Gary. So just so you know, there was what, maybe one public comment. And as Jake said, it really didn't have anything to do with the rezone itself. They were more concerned with this master plan transportation road going through there, which really didn't have much to do with the rezone. So it was pretty unanimous on behalf of the planning commission to recommend this rezone to us.
So can I just ask a question?
If you'll step up to the mic and state your name, please.
Casey Paul, applicant.
Entrance.
Oh, sorry.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Casey Paul, applicant for this rezone.
So on 300 West, which Island Road,
Correct.
and then I have this red area for the rezone, but there's a blue area in front of that. And is your entrance off of 300 West that goes to the back portion of the property?
Yes.
And that's where you propose to build the house?
Well, we're not proposing to build a house right now. We're just proposing the rezone at this time so that we can maybe proceed down the road with that. Yes, but our entrance is off of 300 West right here where Jake's got his pointer right here. That's the access to the back of the lot right here. This is the driveway to the existing home. And then this access goes back to the shop and the back of the lot.
So the blue area is in on this? It's not the rezone?
Rezone, no, the back in red is the part we're proposing for rezone.
Go to the parcel map. This will help.
Both the front and the back.
We got all of these.
Okay, I just need.
Concurrent ownership.
Yeah, it's a little weird and that's why we're trying to get it to rezone it because of the way that it is already. It's a little odd of why that would be that way in the first place. Yeah, we live in the house next door. We lived there for 21 years. We've been wanting to purchase this property since we moved in. We finally got the chance and now we're trying to make it all whole.
Okay, yeah, this will help you. There's a parcel right there.
Yeah, that's the whole parcel.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
This is the Lee Manning property.
Correct.
May I ask another question? So when they eventually go to build on this potential rezone we're doing tonight, does it meet our ordinance for a flag lot?
Tentatively, yes. I mean, not as currently zoned because the RR is a large lot. But if it were rezoned, I think it could work. I mean, they didn't submit an application and they didn't submit, detailed drawings and layout and all of that. But we did look at it. Our engineer looked at it. Fires looked at it. So, we've given them preliminary feedback that it looks like it's doable based off the information we had at the time. And we do that as a service to them. It's not an official, it's not
Part of the rezone.
yeah, it's not part of the rezone, it's not part of the approval process. It's just, I mean, it's nice to be able to go into the city and say, could I do this? And so they bring in a basic plan and we do a quick look and based on the information. So it certainly is not an approval or a promise, but in terms of acreage and access and things like that. And part of that is the flag lot, the road distance, and they're also good on that, but it may just be where the home gets sited as well.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, you base the rezone off the application, not off the what ifs. But those are good questions.
Any more comments or?
Mayor, I'd be willing to propose a motion
Okay.
that we approve ordinance 25-15, an ordinance amending the zoning designation of a partial portion parcel of property containing a total of approximately 1.95 acres located at approximately 330 north, 300 west by changing the zoning designation thereof from the existing RR to R110 on 1.26 acres of the 1.95 acres, providing for the amendment to the zoning map, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And I just mention on my copy, Janet, it didn't have the full ordinance number. I imagine that'll be added after 25-50.
515.
Yeah. Is it on yours?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, why did mine not have it? Look,
Oh, I'm going off.
what I'm looking at the packet.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll second it, by the way.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
I,
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous.
yes.
Thank you.
that's where I got that from. But just when we
Thank you.
sign it, we probably want that on. But it was on up there. That one had it.
Yeah.
I'm electronic, right?
Oh, I didn't even look. I will look.
Okay, let's go to item B, review and action, a resolution adopting and approving a power pole line attachment agreement between Morgan City and Beehive Broadband. Resolution 2527. I believe I'll go to Ty on this one.
Okay, so when we have communication utilities, they attach to our power poles. And we had an agreement with Beehive that we thought expired with Utopia, because when Utopia came, they bought out Beehive and their entire network. And now we're on the State Street project, removing our lines from the power poles, and we needed to put them, when we move, they move, right, off the power lines. And Beehive said they didn't have a current pole attachment agreement with us, and we said we didn't know you were still with us. But what happens is Beehive goes through the city out to Porterville, and so they still need to attach to our poles, even though they're not a provider within the city limits. And so this redoes the pole attachment agreement, and then we bill them. I can't remember what our per pole rate is, but each utility that's on our power poles, we bill them twice a year for the rent.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I didn't think anybody had Beehive in the city anymore, but it
Exactly.
goes through to out in the county.
Yeah.
And so that will be underground.
That part will be underground, but the remaining
Right.
part, yeah, they're on our poles.
They're on our poles already.
Yeah. But it's been kind of difficult to figure out what's a live communication line and what's abandoned, and we still have old copper from Comcast days on some of our lines, so.
We're doing this because the old one expired?
Cause we didn't have a current one with Beehive.
Well, this is Beehive. We had it with Utopia.
Yeah, huh?
But you made the comment that Utopia owns Beehive?
So no, Beehive is a provider on the Utopia network.
One of the
So they don't-
15 or so
Yeah,
that can provide that.
So they don't own them, but our pole attachment agreement is with Utopia.
I see. Well, Beehive's all through the city. How did they do that without an agreement?
So Utopia did buy out, when Utopia came and built, they bought out all of the Beehive network, so they bought all of their lines.
Oh, just the
All the
infrastructure,
infrastructure,
Everything.
but not the service.
not the service, yeah.
Okay.
So,
And
yeah,
they still own that same infrastructure. This is for other infrastructure going a different direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so Utopia owns all of the old Beehive infrastructure,
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah.
The city.
Yeah, so when the Utopia came, then they're like, well, we're not a competitor, we're on your network, we don't want to duplicate. We don't want to have some Beehive,
With, yeah,
yeah, we don't want to have some Beehive customers on our
pole and some
phone lines and
Utopia.
some on Utopia, we
Yeah,
just go all
sure.
Utopia.
Okay.
So that's what this does.
I've marked up this agreement a little bit because I'm sure it's great, but there was just a couple of things I wanted to ask.
So,
Maybe- Maybe ask Garrett.
so Gary, He has questions about the pole attachment agreement.
Gary, so I'm on page 3. And under, section 2, I'm on page 3, 2A. But the right to use and occupy said street, alleys, public ways and places for the purpose herein set forth shall not be exclusive. When the city reserves the right to grant a similar use of said street. So if somebody else comes along and wants to use that pole, they're allowed to as well.
That's correct.
And then it talks about it down here in B, it said, and it answers my question. It says, further, the city allows other entities, both private and public, use of such places, rights of ways and easements, and the grant herein contained is on a space available basis and does not warrant that there is a first come, first served basis. Meaning that they could use it if there's space available on that pole, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, then finally, clear down on C. Company agrees to bear the cost of increasing pole capacity to the extent necessary to accommodate the company's facilities. To the extent that the increased capacity exceeds the minimum capacity required to accommodate the company's facilities, costs will be shared with other providers benefiting from the increased pole capacity. Company agrees that if such a removal is made, that the company has no claim for compensation against the city, either by way of eminent domain claim or otherwise. So if they need to upgrade that and they have to make some improvements on it, and somebody else comes along, they have to bear part of that. Is that how that reads? Is that?
So they don't have to, but they may.
But that wouldn't include the city, right? The city would not have to, we don't have to pay anything on that, right?
No.
Add more space for someone
And then,
else.
and then finally, the only other thing I wanted to ask, and I can't remember where I highlighted it, but it says something in here that if for some reason the city needs that space in the future for something, that we can tell them we need that space and they have 30 days to remove that equipment. Is that,
Get off our pole.
that's correct? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I understood it. So I just wanted to,
And I have a question on D. It says the city's mayor or his or her designee is the final or
Arbiter.
arbitrator.
Well, I think it's the arbiter. As to interpretation of safety requirements. So
Chew.
If like says it's not safe, they can appeal to the
You
mayor
don't think it's safe?
and you are the final word on whether or not to allow them to be placed there.
or I could pass that battalion to a designee,
To a designee.
which would be Clark. Somebody who's,
Clark would likely make the determination. And so it's kind of a political thing. This is the same agreement that everybody signs. Utopia, US CenturyLink, all the others sign the same agreement over the years. But it allows for some recourse to, and you could even designate the city council to be able to make that decision, or the city manager to make that decision, or you could make the decision yourself. But I've not seen a situation where it has, Clark has not been the expert and where he's not been sustained. You know, if he's saying the poll isn't going to support that, that's pretty much it. And they can appeal to you and say, I think Clark's nuts. I don't think knows what he's talking about. They'd have to do some pretty good demonstrating, and you'd probably hire an expert to look at it.
okay.
Well, you know more about it than Clark.
Yeah.
Well, I think it should say the city's mayor is a good guy.
Well,
Mayor,
okay, Tony.
I'm ready to make a motion that we adopt resolution 25-27. It's a resolution adopting and approving a power pole line attachment agreement between Morgan City and Beehive Broadband.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, any other comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Let's move to item C. Final acceptance of Valley Vista Estates Phase 1.
It's just.
Is there any? Aye.
So, just kind of an awareness thing, the Valley Vista Phase 1 is the single family subdivision above Jenny, or just off of Jenny Lane, up above. And they've finally hit all of the terms and all the conditions with all of the infrastructure to have the city accepted as a public road and all the utilities. It went back and forth for quite a while because of some stormwater issues that were all remedied. It, between the original design and how it was installed and how it functioned, they had to come back with a whole new plan and reinstall all new drains, storm drains. And then we, after those improvements were made, we actually had a pretty decent rainstorm to handle it, yeah, so tested it out, but a lot of back and forth, but finally got it to function in an adequate form, so.
What's the,
And I guess just for Jensen's are here, there was one of the comments, we have a city engineer, but then this has also been looked at, combed over, went through by Jones and Associate Engineering Firm with, Matt and our others. So yeah, there are multiple engineering stuff that's looking at the improvements that they've made.
Yeah.
So
what's the dollar amount of the escrow? Just roughly.
I don't know that. I think we did a final release, but it wasn't much. We done that in a previous meeting.
Good night, Jake. Thank you. Did they use the escrow to make the repairs?
No.
They used their additional.
Yeah, they just fronted it all.
they funded it.
Yep, so anyway, that part's
Okay.
done and moving, so.
About a motion.
Great.
Mayor, I'd move that we accept the final acceptance of Valley Vista Estates Phase 1 subdivision as recommended by our consulting engineers, Jones and Associates, and release any remaining escrow funds at this time.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion?
He's late for
Somebody
dinner.
has some discussion.
Just some discussion.
Late for dinner.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Okay, item 5, city council. Do you have any items that you want to bring up or?
Hometown Christmas, the 6th, is that right?
No, I think we ought to just mention that the planning commission, Tony and Steve that were there, continue to work on the general plan. Jake is coming back again.
Cherie? Is that your jacket?
That's fine.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Jake will be coming back to the planning commission with some more recommendations. I won't go into the details.
Right.
Jeff's the only one that doesn't know him anyway.
Yeah, I don't get to attend, darn it.
You can go back to the meeting and listen in.
Listen,
You'll be getting them.
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, it won't keep you in the dark too long.
Thanks, Gary.
The only,
Good night, Gary. Thank you.
the only other thing that I'll mention is that I not only in planning meeting the other night, but I'm getting quite a lot of comments from the folks over on Island Road about the safety of the children over there and the need for a sidewalk. So probably is something I guess we need to look at in the future.
It's on our. Mentioned earlier, I was behind the school bus when they were letting kids off.
Ooh, yeah, there's probably is a need for it. but-
Definitely a problem.
Yeah, so,
over?
nope.
Not quite.
Not quite.
So, so it's on our capital improvement list and we've looked at it trying to decide which side of the road, because we can only fit one sidewalk and all of the stuff that's in the way, but it looks like in order to make it work, we're gonna have to shift the whole road.
Hmm.
And the road's not in really good repair, and so it's a little more involved than just going and laying a sidewalk tomorrow, like it looks like we do. I mean, everything gets engineered, right? But it's on our radar and we're working towards that as our capital improvement list. But the other thing is we're really looking at the connection from Young Street to 200 North, not necessarily all the way down Island Road and around the corner, where all that new development is coming in. So you could walk out of that development down 200 North to get to State Street. So, but it'll probably be more of a road project than just a
When you
sidewalk project, and a road project also means it's probably a water project and.
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Well, you gotta fix everything that's,
Part of the reason for the sidewalk is there's irrigation.
yep. And yeah, there's a ditch and then those irrigation boxes.
Is it as big a problem from 200 North to Young Street as it is further north up Island Road, or as far as making it work?
Where's that ditch?
200 North is easy. Is that what you're asking?
From 200 North down to Young Street, is that what you're talking about? Is that
State
piece of
Street.
sidewalk a little easier maybe to engineer than?
No, it just connects more sidewalk.
Yeah,
So it connects to 100 North, it connects to the new
oh, okay.
Subdivision. So there's more connectivity with the sidewalk
Yeah.
instead of
The new sidewalk up 100 North,
yeah.
yeah.
And the thought is that it would accommodate, with an increase of traffic, then you'd have more sidewalk, and that route in and out might reduce a little bit of the concern.
Yeah, there isn't any sidewalk between 200 North and 100 North, is there? On
No.
Island Road. Yeah, okay, that's right.
Nope.
Yeah, that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but kind of a major lift to do the
Yeah.
whole road.
Ty, on Island Road, do residents participate in sidewalk cost?
They won't,
Okay,
no. So it's only at the point of development. So there's
okay.
a home or two that have,
There's like 3 homes
that
that
have,
have sidewalks in front of it that go to
They don't.
nowhere.
yep, because they were
Mhm.
required to put it in at the time they built.
Or we have at least one that I remember that has an agreement, a notice filed on their property that if sidewalks come to their house, they agree to put one in.
If there's a delay agreement,
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, we had one of those on Young Street as well, so.
Okay. Should that have been something in place with all of the homes originally?
Well,
We would do that now with any new construction.
Yep, it was just that the ordinance didn't exist at the time.
They what?
The ordinance didn't exist
Yeah,
at the
gotcha.
time that all the homes were built. That's why all of the blocks around City Hall, those older
Mhm.
neighborhoods don't
They
have.
don't have it because they were built
Yeah,
before.
it just
And then,
wasn't needed.
yep. Yep, then you gotta
Okay.
figure out the storm drain issue at the same time, so it's.
Do grants ever come along for that kind of help?
We applied for a grant and got denied. But the only grant would be a trail. So
It could
the, yeah, there used to be a safe route to schools grant that we did these other sidewalks on, but
Good night, Scott.
That's too far away from the school.
well, it's further away from the school, so it's harder to qualify, and
Qualify.
the school buses them. And so it doesn't qualify, but that grant also went to federal requirements instead of state.
Oh.
So it's always been a federal grant, but the state used to swap money and make it state money where we didn't have to do all of the Build America, Buy America and
Federal
that increase the cost of the project. So if you do $100,000 project, it increases the project by half, so. Anyway, but yeah, probably not worth the grant, just probably figuring out how to get it done and make it a part of a road project in the next few years.
Yeah.
But working on it, so.
Mayor, how coming into the holidays, only because I delivered a whole bunch of stuff to Colville's food bank today from the school. How's our food bank holding up and how are our community members faring? No, it's not here. I don't even know how to, if anybody,
I
they
frequent
have what
it
they need.
quite often with donations. They could use anything. You would be surprised.
At the amount of people are there people still using it?
City, it's
Countywide, sure.
I've gone there to drop some food items off and it's standing room only. So there is hard times.
You know, is it every?
Food items have to be unexpired, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be expired.
Tuesday, is it every Tuesday? They deliver, a truck delivers food to the pantry from.
From the food bank,
The
from
only,
Utah.
the only reason I know that is because, Rick, he's pretty involved in it. So he goes over every Tuesday and helps them unload the truck and there's quite a bit of food that's brought in from, I guess it must be coming from the food.
From the
bank or
state.
something.
Well, I've also heard that it's coming from the Bishop Storehouse.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I just know,
They're at the, okay, well, I just,
Brother Rick goes over every Tuesday and helps them unload the truck and.
I don't know.
Then it's gone.
That we've got.
Well, when I was down
Take
there
care of-
here,
Yeah,
it
for,
seemed like there was always quite a bit of food in it.
Yeah, it's managed tons better than it was downstairs. And the 3 steaks pay the rent for the building.
okay, well, I just,
You can always use help.
I know the school took a whole bunch.
Tuesdays.
But
And it's embarrassing to have to bring that up just because it's the holidays. We should be caring about that more than just now, but.
Yeah.
I know the one in Colville was
I was
in bad
there
need.
one day and he's probably 10, 11-year-old boy. And in their fridge, there were some steaks. And he said, "Mom, can I have a steak?" And the mom says, "No, son." And the lady that runs it, she says, "How many do you want?" So it's kind of touching.
Yeah. What's amazing in this community is I have a grandson and a granddaughter that go to Viewmont High School down, in Centerville, in Bountiful, in Centerville. Yeah, and you would think of that area of being
Fairly affluent.
fairly affluent, it's nice. And I was shocked when my grandson, he's a senior, was telling me that they provide like housing there at this, like for students,
Homeless
students.
for high school kids.
Yeah. They provide housing for homeless students and feed them there at the high school, High School. And I thought,
Same at Layton.
wow, that shocked me. I didn't know there was that need out there,
I went to Viewmont and they didn't have that then. I had to sleep on the streets.
You were out under the
I
tree.
see they have a plaque in your name down there.
Yeah. In memory of.
Where is he now?
Okay. Ty?
Yeah,
Just, we're still wrapping up projects, so the State Street one's coming along where the power lines are off the poles and getting in the ground, so we should get that one wrapped up, and then the alleyway, the alley's done, but the plaza's, motoring along. And then we just got the land purchase agreement for the last little piece of property that we needed, or that we offered to buy back there behind the bank
Yeah, we
building.
had a little resistance, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're
So we're lined up then.
Yep, we're providing a parking stall as long as the owner still owns the building.
Gary was involved with that, it seemed like.
Yep.
Good.
And then just one other item, in Council of Governments the other night, Tuesday night, COG, there was not a lot discussed, but one of the things that was discussed is we brought up the need for this recreation committee or steering committee to be formed by the county that's going to be that, a steering committee for the county recreation program, and be kind of monitor the money coming in and money going out and where it's being spent and what's being done and what they want to do in the future. So we sort of left that in the hands of the county to spearhead it, where they're the tax collecting entity anyway. So I think there's a general consensus or feeling that we kind of need to have a little better idea of what's going on with our county recreation program. So anyway, that was about it in COG the other night.
Okay, well, with that, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting because I've got a bit.
That's no reason.
That's
Hey, Ty,
I literally second that motion.
That was your.
well, you can't go anywhere because I got to talk to you about something real quick.
I'll have to come right back then.
Oh, you can't. No, you can't. I was just gonna ask you
If you
about,
want my attention, then you'll have to wait.
you mean you don't pay any attention when you're where did Gary go? Did Gary leave?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank him.
Yeah, that was